It is yet another edition of your agricultural biotechnology program where the focus is on the significance of biotechnology to agricultural development in Nigeria, Agribiotech. I am Lara Afolayo. On the program today, we shall be seeing how the National Biosafety Management Agency is reforming its operations through the review and validation of its guidelines. A research scientist with the Shedder Science and Technology Complex, Professor Paul Oyenikwe, will be joining me later on in the program to share his perspectives on biotechnology for agriculture in Nigeria. At this point, we get to see trending agricultural biotechnology stories on What's New. A World Bank scheme aimed at building grassroots research capacity in Africa will nearly double its budget with investments worth at least $280 million. The initiative, which loans money to African governments, has set up 46 education and research centers in 17 African countries and has already created jobs for hundreds of scientists and trained thousands of students. The World Bank launched the African Centers of Excellence initiative in 2014 with $165 million in loans. The money was used to create 22 centers in West and Central African nations, including Nigeria, Benin, and Togo. These were competitively chosen in partnership with the government taking the loans. Uganda needs to open up more agricultural universities and tailor the studies in line with the country's needs if the sector is to continue being the backbone of the economy. South African chief researcher and lecturer at the University of South Africa, Professor Godwell Namo, says economies that are dependent on agriculture cannot talk of fighting poverty when they do not invest in agriculture. He was speaking at a training program on promoting agriculture and climate trade linkages in the East African community in Uganda recently. Namo adds that to eradicate poverty, the country must invest in agriculture and think agriculture. He adds that Uganda and the African continent at large needs typical agricultural universities and the whole university curriculum needs to be overhauled. South Africa is urging other African countries to learn from its strategy and adopt more holistic policies around biotechnology. Ben Dorham, Chief Director in charge of bioinnovation in the country's Department of Science and Technology, says biotechnology adoption works better when it is clearly integrated into various aspects of a country's development, including industry, health, and other areas beyond agriculture. South Africa is currently leading the continent in agricultural biotechnology with more than 80% of its maize and soya beans genetically modified. A lot of BT cotton is also grown there. Work on the introduction of biotechnology crops started in 1997, and the country has since made substantial progress in this application. Estimates have it that between 1998 and 2015, economic gains from GM crops in South Africa stood at $2.1 billion. South Africa is also one of the continent's major food exporters. Many African countries are already following the South African example. Nigeria, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Mozambique are undertaking trials of biotech crops following the establishment of regulatory frameworks on biotechnology. The former leader of Ghana's Peasant Farmers Association, Mohammed Adams Nasiru, is now in support of genetic modification for agriculture. He attributes this shift to receiving accurate information on agricultural biotechnology from the scientific community. Nasiru was national president of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana for almost a decade, from 2005 to 2014. He had previously backed the association's anti-GMO stance, but he now disagrees with the group, saying he and many others were misled into believing genetic modification is bad. But he now knows the truth and is very comfortable with the genetically modified varieties which he feels are harmless. He claims those engaged in the anti-GM activities are doing so because of the money they earn from such activities and do not seek the larger interest of farmers. The National Biosafety Management Agency has met with stakeholders from ministries, departments and agencies who are involved in the country's national biosafety framework on the review of some of its guidelines for the benefit of the country's biosafety system. The review and validation of some of the National Biosafety Management Agency's guidelines to strengthen Nigeria's biosafety system. The biosafety authorities say the process for the guidelines development has been on in the last 2 years, going through assessments and critical review by stakeholders. This meeting is now for the final validation before the documents are made public. The guidelines for review and validation here include the National Biosafety Management Agency's Risk Analysis Framework, which details risk assessment, a precondition for the release of any genetically modified organism, the NBMA's Administrative Manual, Communication Strategy, National Biosafety Emergency Response, Biosafety Information Manual, Institutional Biosafety Committee Guidelines, Biosafety Laboratory Manual, and Inspection Guidelines. The Biosafety Laboratory Manual is to help ensure accurate analysis of genetically modified organisms and the guaranteed safety of personnel working in the laboratory. This is alongside the agency's efforts at overseeing field trials in the country to ensure they comply with acceptable standards.
Now they are still under experimental trial. It is when they have confirmed the efficacy and also collected some safety data and they now apply for commercial release. When they apply for commercial release, they will now do in-depth analysis. For now, what is they are being experimental for is to confirm the level of efficacy of the modification and also to confirm whether this can perform what they have been modified for in the open environment.
This review and validation meeting involves stakeholders from different ministries, departments and agencies who are involved in the National Biosafety Framework in Nigeria. And joining me shortly on set is a research scientist with the Shedder Science and Technology Complex, Professor Paul Oyenikwe, to share his perspectives on biotechnology for agriculture in Nigeria. Do stay with us. And joining me on the program is a professor of biotechnology, Professor Paul Oyenikwe. He is a research scientist with the Shedder Science and Technology Complex. He heads the Biotechnology Center at the complex. It's good to have you join me on the program.
Thank you very much.
I'd like you to tell me about the Shedder Science and Technology Complex.
Shedder Science and Technology Complex is one of the parastatals under the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, and it's one of the flagship research institutes under the ministry. And the program of the research institute is designed to embark in research and development in areas of nuclear technology. In that case, we have the Nuclear Technology Center. We have the Biotechnology and Genetic Engineering Advanced Research Center. We have the Chemistry Advanced Research Center. We have the Physics Advanced Center. One of the ones that has not been developed is the Stimulation and Mathematics Advanced Research Center, which we are just developing, and very soon it will come about.
Okay. You had the Biotechnology Center.
Yeah.
How much, in terms of research, has your center done to promote the use of biotechnology, particularly for agriculture, in Nigeria?
Yeah. One major thing we have done is we have developed a very applicable method of multiplying some of the common crop plants, things like plantain, banana, pineapple. We can do the micropropagation. We have developed this. The essence of developing the micropropagation is not actually for just multiplication, but to enable us, if we want to transform them, to enable us be able to transform, so that we know the nutrients required and how the media required for us to actually develop it. And we have also gone far in developing a genetically modified rice, but because of certain, at that time, the law was not available, so we were not able to continue. But since the law is there now, at the right time, as soon as we are able to have sufficient fund, because it's capital intensive, as soon as we have that, surely we will go back to the drawing board and pick the thing from our shelf. And within a couple of years, Nigeria will be smiling.
I know we have quite a number of confined field trials going on in the country.
Yeah.
And we recently saw the approval for the commercial release for the BT cotton. Was your complex involved or your center involved in that? How much of involvement was your center in that particular process?
Yeah, directly we were not involved, but indirectly we were involved because I served in the committee that approved the BT cotton for the field trial, the confined field trial, and as a matter of fact, I chaired the committee. So that's why I said indirectly we were involved. We were involved.
Okay, and how would you rate those trials so far?
Yeah, the trials were fantastic. You know, one thing that some of these anti-GMO were shouting is what happened in Burkina Faso, you know, where the kind of the fiber they had from the GM is a little bit shorter than the conventional fiber they were having. But unfortunately, what happened was that, you see, many times farmers are always in a hurry. So they hurried the people who were involved in the production such that they didn't do a lot of selection. Usually when you are doing, when you're having a situation where you have to transfer the gene from the one used for the model to your local varieties, it takes you some time to actually select the best. But they saw the thing that it was a very fantastic thing. The key thing there is that they spray so many times. It is not just the cost of the spraying, the cost of the chemical. What are the health implications on the person who is doing the spraying, on the environment? These are things people don't look at. So, but because they saw that this one, oh, they will spray only twice. Fantastic. Instead of 8 times. They calculated the cost. And in the real sense of it, the farmers were smiling to the bank. It's only the industries that we are not so happy because their machine was designed to, you know, take in the long fiber. But for the farmers, they are having very fantastic yield. They spent less to produce a ton, and they were making money. So, and here in Nigeria, some of the farmers participated. Those that are involved in cotton utilization also participated. They saw it. They cherished it. They longed for it. At a point in time, it was what was remaining was for them to carry placards to say, release this thing to us.
So are you saying, as regards cotton, Nigeria is good to go, as regards the BT cotton?
I'm telling you, this is one of the best things that have happened to this country.
And what are your expectations from that development?
Farmers will smile. Most of our textile industries that are under lock and key, surely the chains they use in locking the gates will be broken. Because the traffic of people going in, trailers coming out to carry things will be marvelous. And one thing that is very key is that the number of people that will be re-engaged. Remember, somebody like Oshomole is a product of the textile industry. If textile industry was not in existence then, I don't know whether Oshomole would be what he is today.
Okay, I wouldn't know if your center has carried out any research on the BT cotton variety. I would like you to elaborate for the sake of viewers out there, for the benefit of viewers out there, the specific strengths of the BT cotton variety over the conventional one. I know one of it, the major one, is that it repels the bollworm, the pink bollworm. So what other strengths does this particular variety have?
That's the major key thing, because in producing that particular genetically modified plant, it was engineered to be able to resist attack by those insects. And it's a very simple thing. When the insects bite the leaf, they feel the pain because there is a protein that is contained in that leaf, which is the manifestation of the gene. So, and when they take that, the moment it starts working on them, they will run away. In most cases, it's not that when they will die. Insects, they know things, they know. They are very intelligent. So the moment they test, no, this is not the best farm to go, they will run away from that farm. They will run away from that farm. And in that case, the farm will be. That's why if you check most of the pictures of BT cotton that is taken side by side by the conventional one, the difference is always wonderful. You can easily, without even knowing, you tell somebody, this one, are you sure that this is even cotton? Because the cotton balls are so good, the leaves are uniform, not eaten up, that you have perforations here and there, or you have different colorations. No.
If you're just joining us, the program is still Agribiotech, and I've been speaking with a professor of biotechnology, Professor Paul Onyenekwe, who is a research scientist with the Shedder Science and Technology Complex here in Abuja, the Nigerian capital, and he heads the Biotechnology Center of that complex. We'll take a quick break and the program continues shortly. Do stay with us. Welcome back. The program is still Agribiotech, and Professor Paul Onyenekwe is still here with me in the studio. Thanks for staying with us.
Thank you.
Now, talking about research and biotechnology in Nigeria, what are the challenges that confront your operations in the research industry?
Research. Let us get this thing right. You see, many times when we talk about science, we tend to, as if we want to define that we have Nigerian science, we have American science. No. You can have a Nigerian scientist, an American scientist, but they practice the same science. And there is no shortcut. The era of alchemy is gone. There's no shortcut. In most cases, the problem most research institutes are facing is the issue of funding. And biotechnology in particular requires regular, constant light. You don't have a situation where you are incubating. You may have done everything, you've done your transformation, and you're trying to regenerate. when we say regeneration here, we mean something you started, you are now having it as a cell, and then you now want to develop it into a full plant. So from the single cell to a multicellular organism. And this thing you cannot do under ambient temperature. You do it under certain conditions. Without constant power supply, like the kind of electric power supply we have, you may have power 3 hours in a day. That is not enough to allow a favorable growth. So the first one there is the power supply, especially for biotech. Then the next one is funding. You see, the nature of our funding system, where money is released quarterly or somehow, you now discover that the moment, for example, in the first quarter you are giving money, and probably let us say you want to buy a pressure cooker, you find out that the money given to you may be enough for you to buy the pressure cooker without the cable. So you buy the pressure cooker without the cable. How can you use it?
Okay. Talking about this genetically modified seeds that have been approved for commercialization, the BT cotton, how is your center looking to key into this, maybe to begin to develop local content in this area?
Yeah, actually we are not interested in rediscovering the wheel. A good job has been done in cotton. We are looking at other areas.
Okay. So what other areas are you looking at?
We are looking at cassava, rice. The work we are trying to do in cassava is to produce a variety of cassava that has similar qualities to wheat, so that you can use it to make bread.
We already have a success story with the BT cotton.
Yeah.
If eventually we get to see the commercial release for the cowpea and the rice, what impact do you think it will have on food production in Nigeria?
Yeah, beans is one crop that is used in almost every home in different methods. And unlike in those days where rice was like something that you have to celebrate to eat, beans has remained a very important source of protein for so many families. We use it for akara, moi moi, boil it, so many ways. So it is going to really help in food security. That's the key aspect. Because, for example, in the north, you can hardly find any family that doesn't plant beans. And they plant mainly, at least for their own consumption. So the moment that is released, surely Nigeria, and you may not believe it, we can easily even export. Most of the countries around us, they key into the use of that cowpea in their akara and name it in different ways. So Nigeria will benefit a lot, and more especially food security, and then the health of our young ones, especially the infants, because many families, that's the main source of protein. It's used in medicine. So
basically there's no difference, it's the same
that's
thing.
what I'm saying, it's the same thing. It's the same technology.
Okay, so what will be your final word on this technology for agriculture?
No, we have no alternative. As a matter of fact, the train has left the station. If we miss to jump into the last coach, we are gone.
And I'm sure Nigeria doesn't want to miss joining the last coach.
No, definitely they will not.
Thank you very much, Professor, for
Thank you
joining
very
me
much
on the program.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for your emails and messages sent to our social media accounts. I'll take this email from Adewale Adeniyi, who wants to know the future of agricultural biotechnology in Nigeria and Africa. The Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology, OFAB Nigeria, as a response to your inquiry, Adewale. And that ends this edition of the program. Keep sending in your emails to agribiotech1@yahoo.com. Send us tweets at agribiotech13 or comment on our Facebook page, Agribiotech on TVC. I am Lara Afolain. Goodbye.